What I like to think about here on this show is kind of like that tennis philosophy of like play up, right? Like play with somebody who's been practicing many, many years more than you, because it's like you can be that too. So if someone's listening and they're like, hell no, I am never going to be able to forgive whatever, or there's no possibility of releasing judgment, but they want to feel better. The desire to feel better is enough to play up. Big show today, guys.
Happy to be with you.
Gabrielle Bernstein, a role model for a new generation of spiritual seekers.
It's like, I think that the message for all of us is right now, it's just, we have to recognize we all have suffered, and it's in our suffering that we act out. We can continue to live a life in that silo of, this is how it is, this is the judgments I'm going to carry, and we can beat ourselves over the head with that every single day, or we can identify and recognize that suffering in ourselves and heal it. And when we start to get on our own healing path, that's when we start to develop compassion for others.
Yeah.
That's it. It's bottom line.
But that's really advanced stuff you're talking about.
Super advanced. But what I like to think about here on this show is kind of like that tennis philosophy of like play up, right? Like play with somebody who's been practicing many, many years more than you, because it's like you can be that too. So if someone's listening and they're like, hell no, I am never going to be able to forgive whatever, or there's no possibility of releasing judgment, but they want to feel better. The desire to feel better is enough to play up.
Yeah, I agree. You got to put yourself in those situations. That's why I loved when I first got into recovery, because there was so many older people there. And some people come in and they're like, I'm too young. This is not for me. These people are old. I was like, oh my God, these people are all old. This is going to be amazing. These people have been around for a long time. They know some things that I don't know, but it's, I don't know where it comes from specifically, but I do know, to go back to reading, because I was talking to a friend of mine and I was talking to him about something I was struggling with. And I was like, the hardest part, because I know I have the tools and I know where they are and I even know how to use them. The hard part is, like it says in the book, the strange mental blind spot, where you're just doing the thing that you said you weren't going to do. And you're like, how did this happen? Whatever it is, right. Food, money, sex, rage, whatever it is. So I find that reading helps me stay the most aware, because I can do it at multiple times throughout the day and just read for, whether it's a page or 10 pages. I never read more than 10 pages at a time, almost ever, except at night.
Is it always nonfiction?
No, I read plenty of fiction.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I read a bunch of fiction over the pandemic, just because there were certain books that I didn't think I didn't have the determination to finish. So one thing I started doing was reading on my phone. So I started reading on the iBooks app, and on iBooks, when you see a word you don't recognize, you just highlight it and press look up, and then you're in the dictionary.
Right.
So I read books like Frankenstein and Brave New World with, words that you just would never, that I could spell, probably use in a sentence, but I didn't really know what they meant.
Totally.
So I spent a lot of time.
Is there a word you can give me? Like, what's a word that you found?
Oh, what was the word? Akimbo is the funniest word. Arms akimbo. It means standing like this.
Oh, like a 13-year-old girl?
Or Matthew McConaughey, yeah, with your hands on your hips.
Akimbo. So, standing akimbo.
Yeah, spurious. I have a list, a notes app with like 170 words in it, that when I'm not reading, I try and look at that and just go to sleep thinking about that word.
Right, and that's how you remember it, right, when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Wow, cool, man.
But that's growth too.
Yeah. So you were using the reading and the sort of studying of the words as a way of getting out of your own way.
As almost, to use your word, as a positive activator. So instead of being negatively activated, I was positively activated. Then when a situation came up, I was just aware enough to halt for a second. And the point of that is that it's so obvious in the world today that there are people who are awake or aware, and there are people who are just not to get in. I know that the term woke has become like almost a meme of itself, but when I watch somebody be emotionally unintelligent enough to latch their ego to another person, and you can't tell them about it because their emotional intelligence doesn't even allow them to recognize that they have an ego to attach to somebody. It's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like, we can't talk about this, let's talk about anything else. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
don't realize what's happening. It's like trying to explain to a fish what water is. It's never going to
Mm-hmm.
get it. But that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
There are other, I'm not one of those people who thinks that if you, if you support somebody who has done something wrong, then you are just as bad as that person. I've seen people say that on the internet, and in my mind, I'm like, that's insane. I'm not
Right.
saying
Right.
support, lift up. I'm saying I'm not sitting in judgment of this person.
Right.
My sponsor talks about that all the time. He brings up Emmett Fox, who I love, who I'm sure you're familiar with, right?
Totally. I hope you're enjoying this show. And if you want to get more Gabby, you can click the link below, subscribe to my Dear Gabby podcast on Apple, be the first to know when the episodes drop because they come out 1 week before the video. And you can download it to your phone, listen to it while you're driving, while you're cooking, while you're working out. You can just get more Gabby wherever you are. And if you feel called, leave a review. I'd love to hear from you. Now let's get back to this episode.
And Emmett Fox said something along the lines of, like, if most people alive today who would call themselves Christians were honest, they would be choking on the first two words of the Our Father,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, they wouldn't even be able to get through it because right there, all you know is Our Father. So even if you're not Catholic, not Christian, doesn't matter. The message is, we're all in this together and we're all going through something. And once you establish that as a common ground, the details of what has hurt you in the past, I'm not going to say are irrelevant, but it's almost more relevant how you're dealing with it today than what happened in the past.
That's the clear through line of this conversation today, is that we all are surviving our own suffering and we can show up for it and thrive, or we can play small, hide out, and just try to survive. So that's it's a big through line of this conversation today. Showing up for our suffering requires a lot of us, but it also is a lot easier once we make that commitment. Life gets a lot easier.
It does get easier over time, but it won't get easier over time if you don't start at some point.
Exactly. I mean, anyone listening right now, this could be your moment. This could be your moment to say, okay, I'm going to no longer be the victim of the world I see, but I'm going to actually show up for my suffering so that I can be free. It's a big opportunity.
Yeah.
Big one. Dude, I could talk to you for
We've been talking for 10 minutes, right?
Right? No, it's literally been over an hour. This was what I was hoping, because this Big Talks episode of Dear Gabby, the whole intention is to just talk to people about the stuff that I want to talk about all day, which is personal growth, spirituality, how we can better ourselves. And it doesn't matter what the person does in the world or who they are, or what, if they're a celebrity, or if they're the person I met on the corner yesterday. Like, it's just gonna be a conversation. But I just want to acknowledge you for being a human who has been in the pursuit of mastering the human condition, of being in the pursuit of self-recognition, recovery from the past, and thriving in the present. And I just acknowledge you for that. And it's what I loved about you from the moment that we first spoke years ago, to just being a follower and fan, to being a friend. It's awesome. If you like this video and you want to get more Gabby, check out the next one right over here.